we were at the hospital, I came home that morning and I cleaned house, done laundry, repacked suitcases because we were there for 8 weeks. So I came in that morning and I didn't know that the weather was supposed to be bad or anything. So then I left and I went back to the hospital, and then I was going through a lot with him. He was in recovery, open heart recovery. And then whenever the doctors called me back there, I talked to them. I come back out, and that's when I got the phone call. So, and she told me that my home had been hit by the tornado. I dropped to my knees. There was a black lady in the waiting room, and she just wrapped her arms around me. She was my angel. I know she was because I don't even know her name. Couldn't even tell you. She started praying. She said, I don't know what's going on, honey. She said, but let's pray. There was things left, but there was things that were not salvageable. So they did what they could do to try to keep stuff for me.
So what were you able to salvage from your home?
A few pictures, not many. Guns. They found the guns. They found 2 of them down over the hill here. A few clothes. A lot of stuff was broke. So we had 3 dumpsters. A lot of it went in the dumpster. After they come out and told me, I didn't get to come till the very next day. And when I came in that next day, the cops were sitting out here with the corner blocked, wouldn't let nobody through. And I told him I lived out here. And not only did I have to deal with this, but there is a very old cabin out the road here, which belonged in Randy Nim's family. And the guy is a very good friend of ours. He lives in Iowa, and we take care of that. I pretty well manage that home and take care of it. And I had to go out there because the trees had fell through the roof of it. We had to get all them cut up and all that mess cleaned up. It was just, I had 2 places going here. So yeah, it was after I seen everything, I didn't go back to the hospital for 2 days. And I called a lot. They kept calling me and letting me know because they knew what was going on. I didn't want him to know at this point in time. They didn't want him to know what was going on. But I knew I had to be here to deal with everything. So anyways, when I got back to the hospital, he said, where have you been? And I said, I've been home. I said, I just had some stuff I had to do and take care of because I didn't want to tell him. And then I looked out the window and cried. It was so hard not to cry and tell him, and him going through everything. So, but I didn't tell him until they released him from the hospital because the doctors told me don't tell him because they don't want a setback. But so I waited, and he kept saying, I'm ready to go home, I'm ready to go home. We're coming down the interstate, and I'm driving, and he come home. I had to be his nurse. He had IVs still in him. I was doing medicines at home through the IV and treating him and on the machines and stuff. My truck was full of equipment bringing him home. And I told him coming down the interstate when he said, I can't wait to get home. I looked out the window and I just lost it. And he says, why do you cry when I say that? And I told him, I said, we don't have a home. And he looked at me and he said, what do you mean you don't have a home? I said, the tornado hit it. We're going to Pekin. You're staying with your niece. And he said, you take me home first. I said, you can't go up there. You can't be around this. The doctor said to keep you away. And so I put a mask on him because nothing doing. He's a stubborn man. he had to come home. So when I come up through here, because I come up, they had the road open back up where I could come up from Borden Way. So I brought him up through here. And when I got up through here, they had my whole family was hit. Everybody over through here. And they had a big tent set up, and it was like people bringing stuff in from everywhere. And so people could come and get what they needed. We stopped there, all the police and everybody was sitting there because they brought tanks in for gas and stuff like that, for chainsaws and everything. And we stopped there, and a couple of the cops who I was firefighters with come over to the truck and said he should not be here. And I said, I tried to tell him. So I said, I'm going to take him over and show him, and then I'm taking him to Pekin. And he said, okay. So I brought him and showed him, and I drove through. The kids were cutting up all the trees that were down, so I tried to drive through the yard where I could drive through and show him. And I wouldn't let him get out. He didn't like that, but I wouldn't let him get out. But the wind was really blowing, and I couldn't take no chances. So we went to Pekin and stayed for 3 weeks. 3 weeks with his niece. I was here every day, but he stayed there. I wouldn't even let him come with me. So that's how.
The rebuilding, how did that process go, and who helped? And
The rebuild? He got tired of staying in Pekin, so I came and set our little camper up out here, and we lived in it for a good while. And then the kids came from Michigan, the Grand Rapids, and they stayed a week, and I was so happy to see them. And they helped clean up and tear down what was left and all the damage, and they helped us get a lot done. And then, excuse me, Everest construction team came from Warsaw, Indiana, and they took a week to come down and help everybody and brought their equipment down. And that's how I got everything done, the yard work, and then they dug out the foundation for my house. And I was so excited to see them, but it took a while. We still had to wait. After the cleanup and everything, we still had to wait. I don't know, it was a long time, wasn't it?
8 or 9 months.
Yeah. And it was just crazy. So then they finally came and poured the concrete, and it didn't take them long. The Presbyterians came in. Jack Cormack, he's the pastor for the Presbyterian. It's a Mount Tabor Presbyterians, and they all came in and went to work. Went to work fast too. It took him 9 weeks to build this house. So, and I'm really thankful for Hoosier Uplands, because I had no insurance. I'd let it lapse and didn't know it. I called them, and I've been down there with him for 8 weeks, and I didn't think anything about it. I was more worried about him living than I was anything else. And Hoosier Uplands had a thing going, and I got a grant through them to build my home. Thank you, God. But
so, here on Daisy Hill, you all have had, I think, 3
yes,
major tornadoes.
yes, we've just been really lucky. And the first one in '74, I was in it. I just got off the school bus. But that one went from Daisy Hill Church to Borden. And then they had another one it just kind of skipped. It wasn't just real bad. But then this one hit from the church out this way, and it was the bad one.
So what do you think it is about Daisy Hill that
I don't know. I have no idea. We've never really had this kind of trouble with them before. Now they're calling it Tornado Alley because if it's coming from Crawford County, Harrison County, you can bet we're going to get it.
Well, I meant like the spirit of the people, that you can keep going through this and keep rebuilding. And
I don't know. This is the first time I've actually had to go through it and rebuild. And a lot of them out through here, this is the first time they've had to do this. And now it makes you really leery. You're scared of storms. I'll tell you that. I've got a 4-foot crawl space under this home, and they put me a light under there. So if I ever have another one, they'll find me under this home. They just have to look back in this corner. Somebody come dig me out.
so how has all of this changed you as a person?
I'm more respectful. Well, I've always been respectful, but I look at life more now. I just want to go help people. I'll just stop doing anything just to go help somebody. I mean, you go through something like this and nobody knows until you're actually there. And when it does, just like Oklahoma, I packed my suitcase, I want to go. I'm ready to go. And they said probably between August the 5th and to the 10th or something like that. So I'm ready to go. I work as a volunteer for Salvation Army, and I'm ready to do what I can go do to help these people, because I know we've been there and done that.
And what all have you learned about this in terms of other people, being prepared and things like that? Are there things that you wish you would have done? Or
getting prepared now is when I watch. If I hear there's bad weather coming, or somebody calls me and tells me I better watch the weather, I've got a big bag in there. I take medicines and I just dump it all in it. Make sure I got all the medicines, the important stuff, and then I will go under the house or whatever, wherever I'm at. But I take it with me, make sure I got it. And people's more alert now. A lot of people said, well, it's just going to storm. It ain't going to do nothing. Well, not now. We're pretty well all alert on it. Vicki should be our weather guy up here, because she'll call everybody. If it storms, she says, get over here, because they got that great big basement. And our first big one we had since we've been back home, she called everybody and woke them up and told them, it's coming, it's a pretty bad one, wake up and watch. But her basement was full by the time I got over there. So, but I think we all pretty well are on our toes with it now.
so part of this video will be just if people 50 years from now are looking back on this whole day and what happened and what became of people. I mean, if somebody's looking at this like 50 years from now, what would you want them to know about your situation, the community of Daisy Hill? Anything else you'd like to say?
Just remember, stay alert on the weather. Don't ever underestimate it. And it might be a little storm, but that little storm can cause little tornadoes too. Just stay very alert on it, and love everybody, because you never know one day from the next if you're going to be here. You can put your arms around them one day, and the next day they could be gone due to a storm, due to illness, due to anything. The storms are wicked.